I usually make videos on like the most realistic settings in session or like the most hardcore settings in session, but not everybody wants to struggle doing a backside flip over a set. So in this video, I'm going to do the exact opposite, and I'm going to show you how to make this game as easy to play as possible. So first things first, we're going to go to options, gameplay, and then we're going to go to input mode and change this from left foot, right foot to front foot, back foot. This is going to be one of the easiest controls you can use for learning session, because your back foot is always going to be your right stick and your front foot is always going to be your left stick. So no matter what stance I'm in, the back foot is going to be my right stick, and then if I go switch, my back foot is still going to be my right stick. Front foot is always going to be the left stick no matter what stance I'm in, so Icky Ollie is always going to be that, Nollie is going to be like that, because left and right foot changes that. So now your right foot is always your right stick and your left foot is always your left stick. So when I'm switch, a switch tray flip is going to be like that, or a switch tray double flip. Moving on to body rotation mode, I do recommend using manual regardless of your skill level. I just find it gives a lot more freedom and control over your rotations compared to these other ones, because even after you pop, you can still kind of like turn your body. So you just have a lot more control over, oh, I definitely did not complete that because I didn't land it. But you just have a lot more control over your rotation. Oh my, don't clap. You just have a lot more control over when and how you do your rotations. Next up, we got board settings. Now this one doesn't have too many settings within it, but turn wheel bite off. I'm also going to turn my truck tightness down just for this example. So if you don't know what wheel bite is, it's when your wheels touch the board when you turn, or if you land too far to one side and like you push your board into your wheels. So having wheel bite off is just going to prevent you from like stopping when your wheels hit your board or slowing down a lot. If we turn this back on and then do wheel bite, you like stop. So like I stopped really quickly after my wheels hit my board. So if you just want to be able to cruise around and not slow down, turn that setting off. I also don't recommend having your trucks too loose when you're first starting, because like you're going to be moving all over the place like I just was. So maybe just keep it in the middle for now, or like you can really like tighten it up if you want a little bit less movement than this. But having this amount of movement is actually pretty nice. It gives you a lot of control without making you turn way too fast. For wheel grip, just keep this one right in the middle so that your wheels aren't too slippery or too sticky after doing rotations. Moving on to the flip trick settings, which is going to change a lot of how you play. So catch mode, turn this one to auto. Now all of your tricks will automatically be caught and you won't need to do an input. So it just allows you to like do the flip trick and then just kind of let it go and not have to do anything. So not having to catch your flip tricks makes the game a lot more casual. Board control mode, you can have this on auto or manual if you want. So on manual, I'll be able to do a kick flip, like dipping it a little bit, so I can dip this one forwards if I flick diagonally up, and it's a lot more like dip down, or horizontally if I flick sideways, or rocket a little bit more if I flick slightly down. So the first kickflip I did, I flicked it diagonally up, and it's a lot less horizontal with the ground. The second kickflip, I flicked the stick completely to the left and it stayed a lot more horizontal with the ground. And then the third kickflip, I flicked it diagonally down and it rocketed the board. So if you want to be able to have that kind of control with your board, leave that on manual. But if you don't and just always want it to be like completely straight no matter what input you do. So I'm going to do the input for rocketing the flip, and you can see that it was still horizontal even though I flicked it diagonally down, or more horizontal. It wasn't rocketed for sure. So I'm just going to leave that on auto. We're making this as easy as possible. Flip speed mode. Do you want to be able to control how fast your flips are, or do you want them to be like automatically decided for you? So with this on auto, your flip speed is always going to be the exact same, so it's going to be consistent. Flip continuous mode. This doesn't matter if it's on or off. It just matters if you want to be able to do double flips or not. So having this turned on, the way to do double flips now that you have manual catch off is to hold the direction. I still tried to catch as if I needed to. Is to hold the flick after, and then you can let it go whenever you're ready to catch. So if I wanted to get a double heel, there we go. You just hold it and then let go before you hit the ground. If you find yourself having a habit of holding the inputs after you do the flick, turn this setting off and no longer will you do double flips at all, ever. You'll just do something like that if you hold it. Sync, flip, and scoop speed. So this allows you to desync your flip speed and your scoop speed so that you can do them independently. But since you have all these on auto and this turned off, this doesn't really matter to be turned on or off, but I recommend you turn it on if you're just learning. That way everything stays consistent. Scoop input mode. I recommend using normal over small, because on normal you have to do 1/4 scoop to be able to do varial flips or pop shove-its, anything like with a board rotation of 180. And then for 360 variations, you have to do a half scoop and then flick or pop. So you go right from the bottom, scoop it right to the top, and then flick. Whereas with small scoop, to do a 360 flip, you have to do a 1/4 turn and then flick. And then varial flip, you have to do like a 1/8 turn. So it's very easy to accidentally do a 360 shove or a 360 flip using small scoops. So like you might want to do a varial flip. Like I'm trying to do varial flip, but you got to be like very mindful of your inputs. So having this turned back on normal, you have a much easier window to work with. Even if I scoop this just under 1/4, I'm still going to be able to do a varial flip. And if I scoop it just under 1/2 turn, I can still do a 3 flip. It's not as sensitive. Scoop speed mode, you can keep this on input speed, but if you want everything to just be consistent, turn this on auto. And then scoop continuous mode is the exact same as the flip continuous mode. So if I scoop and hold the shove, it's going to keep going. So if you have a habit of holding the stick afterwards, you can just turn this off. Just know that having this one turned off and this one turned off limit your tricks by not being able to do like double flips or like a 540 shove or anything like that. Pop height mode, so there's unique and there's global. You're going to want to have this on global if you just want to be able to like cruise around and pop up anything that you want without having to worry about if it's nollie or switch or fakie. So now this pop height is going to be the exact same no matter what you're doing. So nollie is going to be the same height as your ollie, and that goes for flip tricks too. So like all your flip tricks are going to be the exact same height because unique pop height makes every trick and every stance a different height. So your nollie could be lower than your ollie, and your 3 flips are going to be lower than a kick flip. Turn that on global. Late tricks aren't going to really affect you too much having it on or off since you have catch mode on auto. You're not doing another input to catch, so you're not going to accidentally trigger a late flip, because the way to trigger a late flip is to do a flick in the air. Actually, I still think it does cause some issue. Yeah, it does cause some issues with auto being on too. So if you accidentally like flick it up, I don't know, if you're having issues with like the little hop that I just showed you there, or you just don't want to do late tricks, just turn this off. Quick shoves. Now, if you're just learning, honestly, I think you should have this turned off or set to grinds only. Let me show you an example with this being on. So the way to do a 3 flip, you have to do a scoop and a flick, but you have to do the flick before you let go of the scoop. If you let go of the scooping foot before you flick, it's going to do that because it's going to activate this quick shove right here, which you only need 1 stick to do. So when people are doing a challenge that requires you to do a pop shove and like they accidentally like don't flick up in time, they do a quick shove and it doesn't register a pop shove and the challenge doesn't work. Or they're wondering why they're trying to do a varial flip and it's just doing a shove. They're like, why can't I do it? Well, it's because you're doing the quick shove first. You're letting the game know, hey, I'm trying to do a quick shove instead of I want to flick it at the exact same time. Like that. So quick shoves, if your timing is not there, just turn this off. If you're just learning, I think you should just turn it off anyways. Moving on to the grind settings. Casual grind mode. If you're just learning, turn this on. This makes it a lot easier to grind. Let's find a nice ledge right here. Oh, there's one right here. So this is going to be a lot more forgiving when you go to like grind or slide anything. Grinds that aren't supposed to connect and like done somewhat wrong, you're going to be able to do them anyways. It just makes things a lot easier. Grind input mode. I recommend using no release. This is going to make it so you don't have to release the stick to get into something like a nose slide. Like I shifted from straight up all the way to the left to shift my nose to the nose slide. So it gives you a little bit more control over your feet and like not having to do the ollie, let go, and then re-input like that. The same is going to be with board slides too. So like you're not going to have to let go of your inputs at all after the ollie. And if you do a flip trick into it and move, it'll automatically catch it for you and then get into the slide or grind that you want. So this also does apply to like nose grinds. Like you don't have to let go of the input first after doing an ollie or a flip trick. You can just kick flip, and I forgot I had Caspers on. If you have Caspers on and you try to do like kick flip nose grind and not like let go of the stick at all, you might get into Caspers. Can I land this? However, keep in mind the way that this works. So I did no release there. When I go to pop out, it just for some reason remembers the input for the shove. So when you go to pop out, you're going to shove. The way you avoid this is you hold up on the stick and then use your trigger to turn in, and then you can pop out without having to do the shove. Might want to go a little bit faster though. If you don't plan on popping out, you can just do this like normal and then let go of the input and turn out. You can treat it like full release too. You don't have to stay locked to no release. Like you can treat it as both. Just gives you more options. Grind alignment. If you are new to the game, turn this all the way up. With this all the way up, you're going to be able to stay locked into a grind without having to worry about falling out too quickly. So like I can stay in this crook for a very, very, very long time. Like I got to make some micro adjustments, eventually fall out, but it's going to make it very, very hard for the game to want to kick you off of the grind. Like if I had grind alignment all the way down, I would not still be like that. So this just makes grinds a lot easier. Grinds and slides are going to be a lot easier if you have this turned all the way up. It's going to be a lot more forgiving when you're first learning. Let me just quickly show you what happens when you turn this all the way off. 0 grind alignment. So I'm gonna try to go for a backside tail here. It's not forgiving at all. Trick relative input, which should actually be renamed to stick relative input. So I'm gonna demonstrate what this does when you have it turned on. So let's get into a nose slide here. So my left stick is to the left. The way I'm gonna pop out of this is I'm gonna have to flick my opposite stick in the exact opposite direction as the other one. So I'm gonna flick my right stick over to the right, and that's how I pop out. So I'm gonna get into it again. My left stick is all the way to the left. If I wanna kick flip out instead, I'm gonna flick it down. So it's kind of like it's rotating the controller a bit, which can be very confusing for somebody that's just learning. So if we turn this off, we'll get into a nose slide again. So I'm not gonna be flicking the right stick to the right to pop out here. I'm gonna flick it straight down. That's how I'm gonna pop. So the input's gonna be exactly as if you were on the ground. Even though my left stick was to the left, it's still gonna be as if I'm doing a nollie on the ground. Or for something like a back tail, I'm gonna flick it up. And then to kick flip is gonna be exactly as it would be on flat, just flick it left. So no matter what grind or slide you're in, you're always gonna treat it as if you're like doing the trick on flat. Dark slides. Do you wanna be able to do dark slides or do you not? Revert settings. So the sensitivity, I'm a madman and I have them at full sensitive. Even though I do reverts completely different in this game now. But if you have this on full sensitivity, like trying to do micro adjustments may cause you to do something like this, like always accidentally reverting. So I recommend turning it somewhere around maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 5, so that they're still possible to do, but like they don't accidentally like trigger. I guess it triggered there. When you try to do micro adjustments, like if you just want to like adjust slightly, it's not going to activate as easily. If you're still having accidental revert issues, you can always change this setting right here, revert on ground, and disable it. That way you're never able to revert while you're on the ground, but you can still revert if you land on the ground after a trick. You just can't revert now while you're riding on the ground. But if you still need to revert, you can always push the sticks inwards and then do a power slide and like use the trigger to turn your body. So no matter what, you can still revert on the ground using the power slides. That's the way that I do reverts now. I do recommend having these turned on though, because some of the challenges require it, I think. Just turn revert sensitivity down. Auto revert. This is gonna save you from a potential bail so that you'll always land your tricks. So if I'm about to trigger a bail after landing, it was supposed to save me. It's supposed to save you and revert you back like that. It's not gonna save you from hitting a rail. I'm gonna turn 90 degrees, have it save me, and then jump down the stairs because I forgot what the inputs were now. The guy kicked my board. So if you're about to fall after landing a trick, it's just gonna like revert back to center. Big drop landing input, disable this. If you're playing casual or you're brand new, you're not gonna wanna do an input for big drops. You're gonna just wanna be able to do the big drops. So this drop right here, like you can do like any big drop and it's not gonna matter. If you have this turned on, it will matter and you will bail if you don't do an input. So you're gonna have to do a 50-50 input when you wanna actually land a big drop. Sit down, buddy. So yeah, disable that. Now, when it comes to the advanced settings, this is all just gonna be like personal preference. So if you wanna be able to pop over something that's a lot higher than you normally would be able to, you can just raise this, just be able to like pop over this with no issue whatsoever. You don't really need to mess with your gravity if you're just starting, just keep it on default. If you wanna be able to push faster and get more speed for things, just raise both of those. You'll be able to push a lot faster. Oh! I do recommend turning banking turn rate completely off because it makes the turning a lot more realistic and not as sharp when you hold the trigger. If you want to be able to pop higher out of manuals, you just raise this. If you want to be able to turn a lot faster, so not have to worry about doing inputs, like I can turn a 540 on flat now. If you want to be able to grind further on ledges, lower this. Now you'll pretty much be able to just grind forever. Like it just, there's no wax, nothing. You can grind as long as you don't hit a crack. Yeah, 5-0, drop, 5-0 again. Like you just keep going forever. Actually, this one right here too, pumping impulse multiplier. Boost this up a lot, like pretty much max. And when you're skating a spot like this, like you're gonna be able to like pump a lot faster and get a lot more speed. Even though I'm making this as easy as possible to play, the game's still got a game sometimes. But yeah, like now we can like actually get a lot more speed. We can pump a lot faster. Like each pump is gonna give you a lot more speed over this. So it just makes transition skating a lot easier. To make the game a little bit easier and like not have to worry about hitting people when you're trying to cruise around, you can just go to experimental and then city life, and then just turn this off, or turn this like really far down so that not many people spawn in. I like a lot of people. So quick recap of all the settings that I have right now. Input is front foot, back foot. Body rotation is on manual. Board settings with the truck tightness being in the middle. Same with wheel grip. Wheel bite is disabled. Flip trick settings. Catch mode is auto. Board control is auto. Flip speed is auto. Continuous mode is off. Sync flip scoop speed is on. Scoop input mode is normal. Scoop speed mode is on auto. Scoop continuous mode is off. Hop height mode is global, late tricks are off, quick shoves are off. Grind settings, casual grind mode is on, grind input mode is no release, grind alignment is all the way up at full, trick relative input is off, and dark slides are off. Revert settings, on ground is enabled, you can disable it if you want to. On landing is enabled, you can disable it if you want to. Revert sensitivity is turned all the way down, you can turn this down as much as you want, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe just keep it at 4. And auto revert is set to on bail. Big drop landing is disabled, and you can mess around with your stats however you want, or you can just have default. So that is how to make session as easy to play as possible. You don't have to worry about catch inputs or anything like that. You do have to worry about trees a little bit. So you can just cruise around. You can like get grinds. You can pop out of them really easily. Do your flip tricks without having to worry. If you have the grind friction all the way down, you can just like grind as long as you want. And with the grind alignment all the way up, you can just stay in whatever grind. If you want to know what the most hardcore settings and realistic settings are in session, check out this next video, because that is going to do it for this video on making the game as easy to play as possible. So I will see you there.